Hey there, everybody. Welcome in for another round of Open Court here on NBA TV. Great to have you out there with us. We call this episode Signature Moves, and it's exactly what it sounds like. And our impressive cast of characters here includes a bunch of guys who had great moves and who are constantly being asked for their signatures. That's not really the way the show works.
Okay.
Here's Steve Smith, who has a signature move named for him. Isaiah Thomas, of course. To my right, Grant Hill, Dominique Wilkins, and Chris Webber. Good to see all of you. I'm going to start with the man who has a move named for him, the Smitty. How do you develop a signature move, a go-to move?
Well, and all these guys spend a lot of time in Detroit, especially Webb, Isaiah, and Grant, and Dominique. There's a lot of guys around there, and I stole it from Richard Dials. I had to give him a lot of credit. He's from Hawthorne Recreation Center.
Right.
Then there's another guy, a combination of Fred Cofield, played at Eastern Michigan.
Freddie Cole.
And then there's a guy that's going to give you chills that you said his name the other day that gave me chills.
Bo Dukes.
Bo Dukes. So it was a combination. I saw those guys doing it in different ways. Actually, Richard Dials threw it behind his back and did it. Fred Cofield kind of did it with the hand, with left hand drop it, right hand go. And then Bo Dukes did it with the pearl, but he used to kind of hold it and carry it. So then for me, the last step for me that I added to it was to jump up. And if you're guarding a guy and you see a guy in the heat of the matter jump up, but when I land, I went. So that was kind of where the mixture, the gumbo of that move came from.
But tell them about when Richard came out of the stands.
Richard Dials is from Hawthorne Recreation Center in my neighborhood. Well, they wrote an article in Sports Illustrated about my move. They didn't name him. I did. But at a Piston game, as we were talking about early, he had seats and he came down at halftime and said, Smitty, you did not put my name in there. And I'm like, I did, Richard, because if you all know from being from Detroit, you have to give homage.
Yeah,
sure.
Copyright laws, man.
That's the story.
And some of these moves are the evolution and imitation combined. C-Web, what do you consider your signature move?
My signature move was getting buckets when I needed one.
That's it. That's simple.
I probably favor the jump hook because you can't block a jump hook.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I like the jump hook. I like the free throw line. If you were big, I'm going to pump fake and dunk on you. I mean, the defense, it's whatever the defense. If Isaiah's checking me, I can't drive by him, so my signature move needs to be a jump hook. If it's a center or Sean Bradley or a big man in Mutombo, I'm going to take you outside, show you I can dribble, cross you over, still one of Grant's slow crossover moves that he sped up, or an Isaiah dribble move. My thing was watching the best players and taking from them. And it was the baby sky hook, whether it was a jump hook, whether it was, Akeem on the block and doing his dream shake. So I prided myself probably in the post having a jump hook and being able to face up, but I can't say I just had one move.
Wait, I stole one of your moves in the driveway. You was in college, and you know how they had those rims, you can lower them? So after you dunked at Duke in Michigan, remember you had the ball head and you dunked, then you...
I remember, unfortunately.
Right after that, right, we had the little rim in the driveway, and you can lower it down. And I would lower it down to like 8.5 feet. And I would dunk, and I would do the Chris Webber. I give him a meme.
But see, that's what I mean about signature moves, because it's like, I do a move, but you remember when Isaiah got the air one at the Palace and then ran around with the ball? How many times have we stole somebody's celebration? Like, I remember hitting a jump shot and jumping up and doing the Jordan, when he jumped up and did it. So, yeah, I think, signature moves is something that's so dope, but everybody has a signature move. I was saying before the show, my signature move from Dominique was walking pigeon-toed into parties. Straight up, because I wanted to be the man. Like, I knew Neek was the man. I knew, of course, I tried all the Neek dunks, and he got cheated.
It was a sexy wall.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it was Neek and Big Daddy Kane on my wall. So that's who I am.
For you, I wore 21 because of Dominique Wilkins. And I always told you.
And Brooks.
That's right. You told me that.
I wore Brooks.
I wore 21 in college because of Dominique Wilkins. You had signature moves we couldn't do.
Right. It was impossible. Yeah, unless a Nerf rim.
I used to try it now. I put it here and then
Yeah.
throw it at the backboard. But I will say, Neek, that one signature move when you go ahead.
Yeah, when he did that was my move. When he hold it and stutter.
That was all
Wait,
about.
you're missing the one thing when he was holding and stutter. He didn't really have a move. This was his move. He went to his left hand like
And keep going.
because he couldn't go left, right? So he would give his move.
No. Let me tell you. See, I could go left, but they couldn't stop me from going right.
So why make it hard on yourself? Why make it hard on yourself?
You know what?
But you know, you used to, I always wondered, why would you do that all the
You
time?
might be moving him out
I
the
was
way.
making sure that that my teammates didn't come on this side of the floor. Stay where you at. I'll get to you if I need you. But you know, my signature move again is. And it was a lot of things I like to do. One of the things I did is I took a move from Earl to Pearl Monroe. I watched a tape of Earl to Pearl where he spent the ball outside of the baseline and it never hit outside. It came back in bounds. And I'm like, man, that is a hell of a move. So I practiced that move over and over again until it became my signature move. And then I incorporate that with the off-balance bank shot off the glass. Because in that area, you had to have an arsenal of things that you use, especially as a post player guy who went off the dribble. So you had to incorporate different things in your game.
One thing you had, Neek, that I don't know if anybody else had, maybe y'all could tell me. In high school, I used to try this when I was really athletic. How the hell do you follow your own shot and tip dunk?
Because you know what? I knew if I knew I would miss a shot. I knew when I would miss it. And I knew how it was going to come off. So I would shoot a shot sometimes just to get a better shot. And so I knew the defense would turn to go get the rebound. So once he turned, I went around him. So I shot and went at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's
So
not
I was
many
able
people
to
that's
get
getting their own rebound.
Yeah, so I knew it was coming off.
Get it. I'm going to shoot a three so I can dunk on you.
And you look at, Zay was talking about the shake, right?
13 on the shot clock. Down low for Dominique. Baseline drive. Dominique. Oh, my goodness. Did you see that jam? I don't know how he did that. Dominique.
That happened by accident.
When he did this?
What happened, when I faked to the middle, the defense collapsed, so I went back baseline. I jumped up and I started shaking, and he covered the rim. And I closed my eyes, I think, and I turned. And when I was turned back around, he was coming
But you went
down.
lower than
I
that,
was
Nick.
still going up.
Nick.
And so that's how that shake.
Nick, it wasn't here. You went like this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was down a little lower.
But
you know, Bob Lanier didn't speak to me for 9 years.
And I was still
Bob
going
Lanier
up.
wouldn't speak to you for 9 years?
He didn't speak to me for 9 years. And I said,
I wouldn't
this
have
is funny,
either, Nick.
because after we retired, he said, I just started speaking to you now. I said, why? He said, when I went home and my kids had to say, why did you let that skinny kid, Dominique Wilkins, dunk embarrass you like that? He said, I hated you.
Grant, how much of your go-to stuff evolved from other people's moves?
For me, it was the crossover move, wanting to be a guard and really using it as a weapon. And really, you know, I only had two moves. It was the crossover, and if you were waiting on it, then I would and keep going. And some people might say it was
That's
a
all
carry.
you need.
That's all I did. That's all I really did. But I could get to the hole, and that was my game. And then as I got older, kind of the hesitation crossover into a mid-range shot.
Jason Kidd, at that time, to me, had the best crossover and best game. And if you look at his stats, he almost averaged a triple-double. It was because he could take you to the post, he could shoot. But that crossover, he could say, be all modest, I was left, it was this and that. But really, when you're in the position, which way is he going to check him? That's when he
But
freezes
you know what's
you only
funny?
need that.
I appreciate that. It's funny, you know, I didn't realize it, but I would kind of just get the ball and go through my legs to start it, you know, and I didn't realize till I got older and I was in Phoenix and I was doing some drills with Goran Dragic, and the coach said, let's do the Grant Hill move. And I'm like, you know, okay, what's that? And he said, you know, you go and you go through your legs and you hop a little bit and then you make your move. And so I was like, oh, okay, so, you know, these guys now watch that and remember that. I didn't even, subconsciously, I just did that.
You didn't know you had a signature move.
I thought it was the crossover, but I did go through the legs to kind of set everything
Cross
up.
hezzy hop.
It was just to kind of set up.
Cross hezzy hop.
Yeah,
Coming from
It's
Chicago,
kind of a rhythm thing.
I knew I had a signature move. And actually, it came from my brother, my older brother, Larry. And it was, It was between the legs, and it was a crossover up under your knee. So it was your 1, your 2,
3,
and then your 3 was behind your back. And it had to be a right to left, and then a left to right, and then a behind your back. So that was your 1, 2, 3. But he kept saying, Junior, all you need is 1. and so I got so good at going between my legs, I never got back to the crossover, but that was my signature move. So I remember being on the court practicing it, right? And Elvin Hayes at one time had this commercial, and he in this commercial was talking about, you got to get your rhythm, you got to get your rhythm. And my older brother Larry started playing music, and he said, you got to have a song in your head when you're dancing. He says, just like when you're dancing, you got to have a song in your head. And he was like, so we would be out on the court for an hour, never shooting, and I'm just going between my legs, crossing over behind my back. And he said, Junior, you got to get the feeling. You don't feel it. You got to put some feeling into it. And then the Globetrotters came to town, and they played do 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 do. And when Sweet Georgia Brown came on, it all clicked. I saw Marcus Haynes and Curly Neal, and they was doing all their thing. They put a little clinic on out there, and that's when it clicked. And you just have to play music with the ball.
All those years when 3/4 of the league hated your guts, you had Sweet Georgia Brown playing in your head?
And not only that, I had some Parliament. Feet don't fail.
That's right. Let's get to break. Signature guard moves when open court continues.
Iverson came in with a crossover that was outside of the box.
Why?
Crossover was out here, and then he would shake with it and then bring it back. I'm glad it was on Jordan and it wasn't on me.
Open Court continues here on NBA TV. We're talking signature moves, and in this segment we decided to break it down by guard signature moves.
Well, I just want to tell a story, how lucky I was. I got a chance to, I think I was in high school, to go up to Orchard St. Mary's.
Yeah.
And me and Magic Johnson played Isaiah Thomas and Mark Aguirre in 2-on-2. You remember that, Isaiah?
I do remember that.
How old were you, Smitty?
17.
He was in high school.
Wow. 17, 130, 6'9", 125.
Just imagine Magic Johnson saying, come up to Orchard St. Mary's. And then y'all kind of got to talking, and Magic said, let's play them in 2-on-2.
Right.
So for me, and then afterwards, he's the reason why I took my dribbling to the other level. You remember you gave me 2 balls?
Yep.
You remember?
Yep.
Can you want to show 'em?
No, go ahead.
I'm going to show 'em. Can I have that ball?
See if you remember.
He said, drop one, pass the other.
Yep.
Drop one, pass the other. Drop one, pass the other. Drop one, pass the other. And I couldn't do it for about 6 months. And then I started to get it where I could go anywhere.
You see, you still working on it, man. He's so proud.
remember that?
Right? Hey, Stephen, we went to his camp.
Globetrotters will love you.
Yes, that's my guy right there.
And at his camps, he would bring people out, and he was cold because Isaiah always smiling. So you think he's first of all, he's a nice guy, but you think, it's going to be sweet today. So he's not letting no little kid score. And he's like, no, you got to earn this. You got to work for this. And then he proceeds to do the machine gun.
Yes.
And that's why as a big fella, like growing up in Detroit, me talking about guards, but seeing like Derek Coleman, Terry Mills, Victor Alexander, Derrick Gross, big guys that had handle. And then you were a point guard, but I mean the centers that almost are your size, and we saw you with handles. And then Zeke came out and did the machine gun. And I remember my father telling me, just like how you said, drop, sweats, drop. He said, 99% of the kids in here are not going to listen to what Isaiah said. Are you going to be one that listens? Yes. And I remember looking at him going, okay, Dad. And I remember seeing him do the machine gun, and I'm not lying. It was a blur. He went off slow. He go, bop, 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 bop. This is what I want y'all to do. Then he starts going faster. Then it's like, to the point where every day, everybody on our block, I'm not lying, for the whole summer, through vacation, Bible school, through school, everything, all the kids on the summer got a grip. Super Grip came out ball from my pops, and everybody just out there all summer trying to make it look like a blur. And those are kind of things that separate information, like what kid is going to see this show and go drop it, or are they going to go to YouTube and go like this when you can't do this unless you drop it first.
That 2-on-2, I was trying to guard Isaiah, and Zeke was, you wrong. I just want to tell you that. Because he would be standing there, and I'm in my stands, guessing, and he'd be talking and Mark, and then his through the leg was the hardest, tightest, quickest.
Yeah.
It wasn't like me and Magic was sliding our feet that much, but for Zeke to have a guy that could just stand there, everybody went through their legs, but to me, you got space. That's when it's not the greatest. You're through the legs, and it's here and gone. Was the best I've seen ever.
Well, let's talk crossovers.
That's the crossover.
You talked about it a little bit, developing. Allen Iverson, Tim Hardaway.
Jason Will, God, Sham God.
Bunch of guys. Who had the best crossover?
So there's two different kind of crossovers. So the crossover that myself and Tim had, it was a 1-2 between the legs, and then it was a low crossover under the knees. So as Smitty was saying, everything was tight. And we were taught that you play inside the box. You never come outside the box so you can get right to your shot. Iverson came in with a crossover that was outside of the box.
Wide, yeah.
And so his crossover was out here, and then he would shake with it and then bring it back, And so when he went outside the box, that's why Iverson had to bring his shot back in to shoot from over here. That's the difference. But Iverson, when he added the shake to it, I'm glad it was on Jordan and it wasn't on me.
But you know what? Your crossover and Hardaway's, it was so tight you got to the basket quicker.
Yes.
Because
Yes,
it didn't take as long to
Mm-hmm.
bring that ball back in for you to make your move.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, you've got us with that
And
many,
then you
many
couldn't
times.
get it. Because the crossover, when you hit it here, you put it right up under your knees. So when you put it up under your knees, right, if that defender, if he leans down, he's going to bump his head into your head. So when you hit it and you're up under your knees,
baby.
right, then you're dancing with it, then you go. But when you out here with it,
That's vintage in
then
the
you got
man.
to bring it back. And
They
that's-
recognize what
That
they
takes a
see
little more
right now.
time.
Yeah.
It takes a little
So
more
that's-
time.
You know,
that's-
somebody that I like too, Chris Jackson, Raul, had that similar through the leg, bop, bop, and it was tight,
Yes.
right into a shot.
Yeah.
Quick as
Sometimes
Curry.
he would go and then he'd ball fake and kind of watch you go by.
Oh, he go. Yeah.
But his was in that mold that
Yeah,
you're
when
talking
you stay
about.
tight with it.
I played with Rod Strickland, man. And it's funny, like, what people that watch basketball think and then people that play basketball think. So you would think like this, you'd have to go here, but like Isaiah said, you keep it tight so you can get to your shot. It's a method to the madness. I remember no one ever being able to check Rod Strickland, and he did not have a jump shot. That's true. So to me, it was like he was one of the best finishers that was short, and his handles, it looked like he couldn't handle his handle, and he never lost it. I remember Muggsy Bogues coming to me going, damn, he can dribble. And I remember all the point guards saying, I'm tired of Muggsy Bogues chasing me up the court.
You ever seen anybody block Rod Strickland's shot
No.
once he got in the paint?
Never.
Couldn't block his shot because he kept the defense off balance all the time. So
Yeah.
he basically froze you a lot. Once he got to the basket, you're backpedaling,
Yeah.
and sometimes he go off the wrong foot.
Yeah.
That would totally freeze you.
And still finish.
And still finish the
Well,
shot.
since we talk about signature moves and guards, you can't leave out Rayford Austin. Rayford Austin has some stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a name that's going to get him excited, and me excited. His first name is Steve Coulter.
Oh, yeah.
Crooked leg.
The crooked leg. The crooked
He
leg.
would have brought it back. That
No,
one step through.
you got to give him the crooked
Yeah,
leg. See, okay, there's signature moves. There's the Isaiah and Tim Hardaway crossover. You got the Smitty. You got the crooked leg. Steve Coulter.
The crooked leg has made a previous appearance on open court.
Yeah, it has.
Yes.
But it's one of those moves that is just it's the craziest move because
There we go.
again the way he does it, right?
That's a life.
It's like he'll go between his legs, right? But he'll plant on his right leg. So he'll go here, go between his legs, and he'll plant, and then he gone with it.
That's it.
You hurt yourself trying that move, man.
Yeah,
could
but
guard
now,
it.
Tear a
you can
ligament,
do
yo.
it slow, but he was
guard it.
doing it
Could guard
full
it.
speed, like
Full speed.
and it would have you so off balance. Man, he had guards almost breaking their ankles.
Falling.
Falling on the floor. And next thing you know, he had the basket at the rim laying it up.
I fell.
How about a shot, a teardrop floater, whatever you want to call it? Tony Parker is one of the great practitioners of it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Tony Parker's a lot of guys have taken that in this era.
Yeah.
But, I thought Mark Jackson was probably the first one I remember getting into the paint. Didn't have a lot of lift. He wasn't a guy that, wasn't going to finish at the rim or do anything crazy, but he just kind of would go in there and throw it up high over the big guys.
A push.
Like a little push shot, yeah. And actually probably was, at a point in his career, it seemed like he was more efficient with that shot than he was with any other shot. That was like his go-to shot right there. And now, obviously, guys have picked that move up and incorporated it in there. But Mark Jackson was probably that first guy that I remember.
I would agree. I played with Mark, and to see him kind of set up that shot time and time again, because he made guys play at his pace. He was never in a hurry. You never was going to push him out of his comfort zone. And he would kind of lull you to sleep. And then he'd get you on the post. Instead of making a post move where you take a really strong shot, he would get you in the lane and shoot that little floater over the top. So even if the defense came, it was too late because he shot it so high. He was very methodical and really precise how he took that shot. But for me, it was a very difficult shot to guard because it was like he would put you to sleep because he was so slow. And you see him bringing the ball down the floor. He's never in a hurry, but such a great passer. And once he got in the lane, he would look guys off to shoot that floater. It was fun to play with Mark.
So many guards have a floater now, and the Euro step is another move that pervades the NBA now. Lots of guys have Euro steps. Where did you first see it?
I think I first seen it with Sarunas
Marciulionis. Yeah, he was
a little bit different. His was more powerful. It wasn't, like Isaiah said, the square. He kept it here. Then I would say Sham God was off the dribble with his. Like Chris said, we throw it out and come get it. But the guy who I thought I played with, I couldn't understand how he didn't tear his ankle. Manu Ginobili does it so hard. I mean, it's a plant, and to get back. I mean, to me, Manu's one of the hardest because Manu's not afraid of taking that contact and blowing through your chest. But when you start going back to guard shots, George, the Iceman Gervin.
You got finger roll. Finger roll.
Yeah.
The shot of all guards.
Yeah,
That is a signature move.
There was one thing that George Gervin did that I still haven't seen anybody in the game do. We would talk, use the backboard is your friend. Everything's got to be in the square, bank it in the square. George Gervin used all of the glass.
He sure did.
I mean, I would watch him practice warming up, and he would stand and he would spin it, and it would hit the top of the glass.
Yes.
And
25, 50 in a row.
Yeah, and
trickle down.
And it's almost
Trickle
like
down.
he would spin it up, and you would hear it go, eek,
Yeah.
and it would just come straight back down. He'd do a right hand, left hand, any part of the glass. I mean, any part of the glass. He could find a spin or something to make it work. Whereas 99.9% of the players playing, we have to put that ball
right there
in the square to make it go in.
Up next on Open Court, signature big man moves. Something tells me that guy's probably going to come up.
Akeem and I would play one-on-one. And I see the athleticism, you see the shimmy and all that, but it's fundamentals. It's footwork, fundamental basics. And he would take the guard footwork and say, I just do what you do, but I do it on the block.
Loops it into the big man. Kareem with the skyhook. Olajuwon has David Robinson just bamboozled.
Nice step through.
Look at that again.
Open Court signature moves continues here on NBA TV. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I'm going to start at the top because it seems like the most obvious one. And to me, the single most effective, least defensible shot in NBA history, the sky hook.
Yeah, I
Kareem
mean,
Abdul-Jabbar.
unbelievable. First of all, I'm surprised that
Nobody's ever done it.
tries to do that shot.
Lots of other
you can't
kinds of
guard it.
hooks,
I'm not
but no one's
surprised.
ever gotten the sky hook.
No one's got. But the thing about Kareem, when you look back at some of those games and those iconic moments where he hits those shots, I mean, he's hitting deep ones. I mean, he's hitting from 15 feet, that sky hook. And you know it's coming. you know what he's going to do. You know, he's going to give you a little shoulder or whatever, but he's going to that sky hook. And I don't know if there's ever a play or a shot in the history of the game that that scored, one, as many points, and two, was just, you couldn't guard. You couldn't guard it. And, I mean, I'm just surprised that more big guys don't try to work on that shot. I know it takes a lot of finesse, a lot of touch, but, I mean, it's one of those things that I'm even thinking, why did I work on that? I mean, that shot right there was unbelievable to defend.
I'll tell you what makes that shot so difficult to guard. First of all, you got a guy who's 7'2" with incredible balance. It takes a great balance to execute that type of shot and the fluidity to come through, because once he get up there, he's up there all alone. And there's no way you're going to block that shot. But he stayed within an area. You're talking about staying in that box, and that's what Kareem did. And it was just an unguardable shot. And again, a guy at 7'2" with that type of mobility, that type of talent, and athleticism at that size, he wasn't going to block it.
It all comes down to shoulder. If you could stand with me, Steve. It all comes to shoulder.
Where's the basket? Where's the
right here. So I like the jump hook. So if I got the jump hook, I can freeze you, but I can hit you in your chest and I can go up. So you're right, Matt. It stays close. And so this was kind of my favorite move in the post because I knew you couldn't block it. So if I know Steve can't block it, I'm going to go here. But if I'm running and moving, I can come here and do it. And actually, if a coach will put that and you see some success at it, I think you'll actually do it. But you never get to see the success. You're not going to go out there and play one-on-one with your boys and shoot a jump hook. You're going to try to do the Durant or something else. But the whole thing is you can't get your shot blocked, and that's why I think Steve is the genius of it, because any move you have in the post it, you can go to every time, and they can't block your shot. I just think it's something great. So even if you take it back that far, you know, I still can't get it. And so, Matt, why, I don't know, but the greatest player that's ever played the game, the #1 scorer, that's his move. We should all do it.
I want to ask you guys, I've seen guys shoot the sweeping hook, the jump hook, but how hard is the sky hook? Because what you said is the balance.
Timing.
Yeah, the back.
Can somebody else do that?
Off one leg.
The difference is, you know, Chris, the jump hook, you're like 2 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
So you have balance.
Definitely.
You
It's
have your
easier.
base.
It's easier.
But as a big guy,
Just to go
big
into
guy's
it.
battling with you, and you're going off one leg, the strength and the balance.
But I will
that's
say
gotta
the
be off the
space.
But where's your shoulder pointed at?
Oh, at the basket.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when
At the basket.
and that's the whole key. Like with Kareem,
Exactly.
he would get you, and then he had got so good at it, like all of you have, where okay, I figured out like if I can't get my shoulder around, okay, now intellectually, right, I can now change and say, okay, I got to shoot it 2 more inches over here. Boom, boy.
Big part of fundamentals, with the big guys especially, is footwork. Some of the greatest feet ever in NBA history, when you're talking about signature moves, Kevin McHale and the Dream Shake, Hakeem Olajuwon.
I think they're the two best. They're the two, and I played many years against both of those guys. And Kevin McHale, it got to the point where they were calling him a man of 1,000 moves. Could not guard him one-on-one on the box because he had such great footwork, and he did a great job of feeling the contact. And once he felt you, you were done. If the double team didn't come right away, forget about it. He had too much stuff on the box. Hakeem, the same thing. Not only was he a very agile guy, but he was super strong around the basket, and he just had an unbelievable feel for the game. I remember the year that David Robinson got the MVP. He was a little upset about that, so he made a statement in the playoffs and basically destroyed it in the playoffs. But it's because of his footwork and the way he worked on his game. Because when he first came in the league, actually when he was at the University of Houston, didn't have great footwork at all. Wasn't a very good scorer.
Right.
It wasn't until he came in the NBA he developed all
He's the
those
first
skills.
big man that crossed me over. Like I love everybody talking about him on the post because that's obvious he's going to kill you. You know he's going to turn baseline. You know, that's the thing. We study each other's best moves, and we know what you're going to do. And I think I heard you say in another show, you know, it's different than hitting the open shot and when somebody knows your moves, and that's true. So with Hakeem, we knew he was going right shoulder. But how many spins are you going to get this way, or is he going to face you up? And at the free throw line, he had a crossover. He couldn't dribble straight, but he could do this all day on you and hit that jump shot. And I remember him being kind and cool and all this, and I remember thinking, like, I've never seen this quickness. Like, all the coaches I ever had, shut up. You don't know what you're talking. All my boys, shut up, because this right here is some 3,000 futuristic, you know, type moves. And he was just so quick, strong, and athletic. But that's what I love about the league is that no matter what level you're on, when you get to this league, first of all, you're going to be happy that the NBA players are fans of you and they encourage you. The players are, and they want you to get better. But you also have to learn everything you know. Throw that out the window and get better because guys have different moves that can come.
So,
Didn't realize.
let me give you our scouting report for Hakeem Olajuwon. Earl Cureton said he's two people. We got Hakeem who give you the shake, and then I got to guard Olajuwon on the block.
Seriously, that's true. You know what? They should have did that. 2 scouting reports. One with the goggles on, then the goggles.
I got Hakeem and Olajuwon.
In '96, I was on the Olympic team, and we had Lenny Wilkins, and we didn't practice. So every day, Hakeem and I would play one-on-one. And his footwork was crazy, but he would tell me that he would take the footwork and the discipline of a guard and take that into the block.
Yeah.
And so it all comes back to what we're saying. You see the athleticism, you see the shimmy and all that, but it's fundamentals. It's footwork, fundamental basics. And he would take the guard footwork and say, I just do what you do, but I do it on the block. And he was one of the best to ever do it.
Well, C-Web, you didn't realize you were playing against a time traveler.
Yeah.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Exactly, yeah. He's
Coming up, some
futuristic.
signature scoring moves.
He's in the new Euro League. You don't even know that.
I don't realize how big Larry
That's
was
the
either.
thing, 6'10".
He was 6'10",
Yes.
shooting that fade away from the court. There was nothing you can do
Tell
about
us
it.
about it, Sneak. Tell us about Larry Bird.
Welcome back to NBA TV. Open Court continues here, and we're talking signature moves in this episode. Smitty, what are your favorite signature scoring moves from the guys who could really light it up?
Well, for me, Hakeem Olajuwon down on the block, watching him bang you and get that separation and then react on what you've done was Hakeem Olajuwon's move down there. And then the James Worthy spin. For some reason, every time I did it, they called travel. The James Worthy quick spin, Negan. I know you guarded him.
Hey,
it was so quick.
It was so quick.
For the bigs.
He would basically get the ball in the low block. And soon as he feels you, any type of touch, he was gone, baseline. It was so quick you didn't have time to react. But as quick as his spin was on that box, the guy, and I've never feared anybody I ever played against, there's the one guy that scared me, and that was Bernard King. You could not guard him on the block. It was just impossible because he would turn to his right shoulder. When he would shoot, he never extended. He stopped here. So you couldn't block his shot. You look up, he's got 40.
Right?
Oh, it was. And the thing about Bernard, they used to tell us, you got to meet Bernard at half court. I'm like, I'm not meeting him at half court. Well, I found out real quick what they meant because he was gone, you know. So I had to start to meet him at half court because once he got ahead of steam at half court, it was too late. There's nothing you can do about it.
You know who I used to, I'm going to throw a name out that I used to love to see him play as a big man. And I'm going to say this name, and all y'all going to go, yeah, the Sigma move.
I was thinking,
I was just about to say.
Yes.
When Jack Sigma, when he was with Seattle and then, Milwaukee, and he would turn around on the block and give you that.
Without Sigma, it's no Tim Duncan move and it's no Karl Malone move. And that's where they would get you. It's all spacing. You didn't think Karl Malone was going to go by you and dunk on you in the post. He wasn't that type of player. But you knew that he wanted to get to the free throw line plus 10 times a game. And if he hit you with that shot first, the first minute you just down, he hit you with the shot, now you think it's coming all night. But it's off the reverse pivot. And depending on what side you are, if you reverse pivot, you can just swing right into the post and dunk on people. So a lot of my post moves, and it's funny because you would hear commentators say, oh my God, he has to get in the post. It's stupid, I'm in the post, I'm doing the Sigma, I'm facing up, and now I can either pump fake because this guy's bigger than me or drive by. But you're so right, Zeke. And Sigma was a great passer because that flare in the other corner, all I got to do is do like this. You're looking at me, the whole court comes over here to sneak it over there. So, yeah, the Jack
Was he one of the
Sigma.
first bigs to face up? Was he one of the first bigs?
Yeah.
Okay.
With Seattle. I mean, and Lenny was coaching. They had Dennis Johnson, Gus Williams, downtown. I mean, and we had never, at least, as a little kid, I'm watching them in the final because everything
we
was
were at
tape
the same
delayed,
age,
right?
so we...
Yeah, so everything was tape delayed. And when that joker was catching it in the post and then turn it around
And he would hesitate with it because it kind of freezes you,
and
you could never get to it,
you
never
know,
block it.
or he would be like, okay. And then this other dude came in by the name of Larry Bird. and he basically had the Sigma on the perimeter.
Right.
He catching y'all, pressing him. He facing y'all up in the three. Yeah, just
And a
throwing it
step
up.
back thrown in.
Yes. Larry had the greatest step back I ever saw. You know, because he would give it to you on your left, and then he would step back and let it go. And then he had, again, every time I talk about his shot, you know, when you see a pretty ball rolling in the air, again, it's like it's telling the story in the air.
And see,
I mean,
people don't
the
realize how
rotation
big
of-
Larry
Yeah,
was
that's the
either.
thing, 6'10".
Yeah.
He was 6'10",
Yes.
shooting that fade away from the court. There was nothing you can do
Tell
about
us
it.
about it, Sneak. Tell us about Larry Bird.
Seems like you have some experience on this topic.
tell us
A lot of experience. I give you a game. I give you a game. Well, Kevin McHale scored 57 one night. So Bird said, I'm going to break your record against Atlanta.
Yeah.
I'm like, you won't get 55, not here. You know, well,
in New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Giving each other. Hey.
Some free chili.
He got so hot in that game that you talk about that patented step back. He was doing that step back, and he switched it to his left hand 3 separate times in that game and hit a 3. He was scoring anywhere on the floor that he wanted.
Is this when the
I mean,
bench
it
was giving
unbelievable.
each other five?
And the bench was giving each other 5.
So did you get in a fight with them after the game? Forget Larry. Did
Well,
you
put
beat
it-
anybody on the
I'll
bench?
put it
Because
this way
you
here.
giving 5, he's scoring on me.
Every one of those
You're on my
guys
team.
got fined $3,000.
Okay, good.
I mean, I could not. I've never seen a guy get that hot before.
They got fined $3,000,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, we watching the film the next day, and we looking at everybody. Now, Fratello fined everybody $3,000, but what y'all didn't see was he was sitting down like,
You know, and you should have filed Fratello $10,000. Because can't he call a double team? Can't you get it out of his hands, coach?
even
Find the coach.
Even the coach was like, ooh.
But I paid him back.
Coach
I
should've
paid him
pressed
back.
or something.
I paid him back, I think probably about a couple weeks later when I went for 54. So that was my payback. Didn't get 60, but I got 54.
You know, our colleague Reggie Miller, the Hall of Famer, one of the great scorers in NBA history, one of the great shooters in NBA history, and his signature move may have had nothing to do with his release or how he got the shot, but the follow-through with his feet, the kick out that got him to the free throw
not
line
follow-through, he
so
kicked you.
often. Smitty, this seems to have struck a nerve with you.
Let me tell you, when you're out in the Eastern Conference, and we played 4, maybe 7, 8 times a year, we played in the playoffs. And Reggie, ultimate competitor. We talk about competitors, I mean, to the 10th degree, because it was grab, hold. Reggie would do whatever
and
it
you're
takes.
not.
I didn't do as much.
Yeah.
And I've always said, I tell kids, the endurance of Reggie Miller is phenomenal. I mean, he can run off a screen, get it, run back off a screen, run off, and then still have the legs to shoot the basketball and shoot the basketball the same way. Even though it was a different type of form, it still came off the same way, whether he was kicking, whether he was off balance, and there wasn't a lot of dribbling. He was taking one dribble or no dribbles and still being able to shoot the basketball and still had that same endurance in fourth quarters and after 82 games in playoffs.
How did you prepare for him?
Well, I think the one thing was I always wanted to send him to come off this way. Well, what I mean is shooting it off his left shoulder, because I thought off his right shoulder, he was real good at being able to take one dribble and get back to the baseline. I wanted him to keep it in his right hand to drive the basketball to make a play. But preparing for him, it was teammates, Grant Long, guys that were bigs that could switch out. That was the only way you had a chance, I thought, with Reggie Miller, to have a big that could switch.
You know,
Now, did the coaches or the players, were they like, hey, Reggie sending a limo for you tonight? Remember that? Like,
When? Well,
when did Lenny ever say, hey, to try to get you to guard him a certain way, he say, hey, Smitty, Reggie gonna send a limo for you tonight. He's gonna get 50 on you. How did he?
my thought process, the best way to guard a Reggie Miller was to post him up and get him in foul trouble. That's what I wanted to do, to post him up and get him in foul trouble, to take away some of his aggression.
One thing, Smitty, I guarded him a little bit too. And because he wasn't one of those guys that had the ball in his hands and make a play, he came off of screens. You had to really be disciplined and focus and lock and trail. And so with shooters, you don't want to give them any space. You want to be up on them. You know, when they catch the ball, you want to be right there. And so as he's curling the screen and coming off, and as you're going by, that, you know, kicking that foot out, either way, whether he's coming off the right shoulder or left shoulder, it really became a challenge because you didn't want to get too close. It's like you want to do your work early. You want to try to ride him through the screen. But as he catches it and he's kicking that foot, whether from 3 or from 2 or whatever, it's like, well, they're going to call that foul on me. And it just he became unguardable in that sense because you had to get up on him.
Well, they say
going to
that
call that foul.
Kevin Durant was like with the first. Reggie was one of the first to me because if you were close to Reggie, he was taking
Him
it
and Karl Malone. Karl would do that. He would do that in the post and kick
Tim
his
Duncan
leg and
did it too, right?
repost.
Duncan,
But you know one thing though, just real quick, we talk about signature moves, and so the best thing about working here at Turner is that, you know, we got all this information. So I wasn't even here last week, Zeke, and someone told me an argument or something that you had said, and I was like, wow. They were like, what's the best move that ever in basketball? Don't say nothing, Zeke. What's the best move ever?
Well,
yeah, you already. Oh, you were there. What's the best move ever?
I know it.
The best move.
Yeah, it's tough. I just jump ahead because I'm thinking about all these moves.
Yeah, I know it.
It's the pump fake.
Pump fake.
At the end of the day, it's the pump fake. And so last week, you know, just talking and working with my nephews, I'm like, it's the pump fake. And all we did was work on pump fakes. And if you look at all these things, if you can't shoot, your pump fake doesn't work. So Bird with the pump fake. Reggie, all Reggie got to do is like that and blink, and you come in and he'll kick the leg out. The same with Akeem. All this works because if he gets you here, then he's going up under. It's like having one great move and then being able to work off of that.
Pump fake.
It's
Chris
based
Gatlin.
off the pump
Remember
fake.
Chris Gatlin?
D-Wade's
Chris Gatlin. I probably got $10,000 in fines for going for his pump fake. Coach like,
Still
if you go for that's a $50 fine.
On open court.
And he couldn't
Signature
shoot.
moves that will influence the next
I
generation.
still went for the pump fake. He couldn't even shoot.
Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry. The way they handle the basketball, I would say Steph Curry, he's got the classic, he's in the box. Kyrie Irving can do everything. He's got tricks. I think those two guys are going to take the point guard position to another level.
Hart with a beautiful move. Hart on a step back. Yes. Curry splits the defense behind the back. Fires a three. Oh, he puts it in.
What a play by Irving. He gives you a move with every part of his body.
We've reached the final segment of this edition of Open Court, Signature Moves, and we're thinking ahead now to the guys on the floor now who are going to influence the next generation. We've already seen Kevin Durant, for instance, adopt Dirk Nowitzki's one-legged fadeaway. What are the other moves they're going to have an impact on players 5 years from now?
You know, a move I like, James Harden. And he's got a lot of moves, but when he gets in the paint, he kind of brings his arms through, a lot like how Sam Perkins used to do that in the post. Stacey Augmon used to do that, a lot of guys. So he kind of extends his arms as he's going down the lane and goes into your arms as he's going to the basket. One of the best at drawing fouls and creating contact as an offensive player. And so, you know, the whole theme has been sort of guys taking stuff from other people through the years and learning from other guys, and certainly Harden has learned that from someone.
Zeke, whose stuff do you admire right now?
Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry. The way they handle the basketball, and, you know, I would say Steph Curry, he's got the classic, he's in the box. Kyrie Irving can do everything. He's got tricks. I think those two guys are going to take the point guard position from a scoring, dribbling, showman standpoint to another level.
You know, we love Stephen Curry and also Kyrie Irving, but the one guy, I also have to throw in James Harden. It's not a step back, it's a step sideways. That's something that's new. Like Grant said, him bringing it down there. But I think it's going to be Kevin Durant. We're going to have 6'11" guys being able to handle the basketball like a Kyrie. Because right now, if you're a big guy and you're trying to emulate Kevin Durant, you're working on your handles right now. And we're going to have somebody be able to dribble the basketball like a Tim Hardaway, like Isaiah Thomas. But I think also it's an old school thing, but that flamethrower and Klay Thompson is going to have kids going out there shooting the basketball.
Back to the fundamentals.
Back to the fundamentals. Klay Thompson, the way he's shooting that basketball. And Stephen Curry can shoot it, but that picture perfect, keeping it square. Klay Thompson.
Good fundamentals is always a good signature.
Good fundamentals. I think it's coming back.
Well, I spent time with both of those kids this summer in the Canary Islands with the Olympic team. and Steph Curry and Thompson to see what they do after practice. And I was amazed on how focused they are on shooting the basketball. They spent an hour and a half after practice just shooting. It
How
blew me
about
away.
that?
Hard work is another great signature move to have. Fellas?